picture this scene. I'm a teenager. Just turn my head upside down, remove the grey hairs, and rewind a few years and decades. So, it's my first day working in a large-scale industrial bakery in Belfast. The smell of freshly baked bread fills the air, and so too the noises, the clatter of trays, the beeping of timers, and the voices of the workers. One of those voices belongs to Billy, the king of potato bread. He's been flipping for 30 years. He shows me how it's done. Whoops. He shows me how it's done, and then he says, "It's your turn." So I take up the challenge, and it's not easy. Everything is set up for a left-hander, even the flipper. So, what was happening here? Billy's teaching style was implicit. Okay? Learning by watching and doing something similar to what you all know as experiential learning. But I needed something more. I needed information about what he was doing on his side of the machine. I needed information about what my next step was after I flipped. So, Billy was a high context communicator. Not surprising, really, if you think about all the repetition over those 30 years. Billy preferred to communicate in a way that didn't use words. Okay? So, less explicit, more implicit. I first learned about high context communication when I lived in Japan. You see, the Japanese often found it difficult to say no. But yes had different meanings. So there was, yes, I'll do it. There was, yes, I understand. And there was, yes, I hope I have said this unenthusiastically enough that you all understand it means no. So, back to the bakery. I needed to see the whole process, the big picture. And I learnt about the big picture when I first worked with Koreans. You see, some cultures are like Billy. They prefer to take a more linear approach, focusing on one task at a time before moving on to the next. For linear thinkers or learners, they see the single unit potato bread separate from everything else. More holistic learners like to understand how everything is connected. Like how the potato bread fits in with the other ingredients of the delicious Ulster fry. Now, some of you might be working in organizational development or L&D strategy. You're probably systemic thinkers. It's a step beyond holistic. Okay? And here it's represented by the sizzle of the sausages in the pan, right through to the cafe where the Ulster fry is served. So, back to Billy first, the king of potato bread. To solve the dilemma of the left-handed versus right-handed flipping, I needed to see the whole process. It wasn't going to be easy. I could have tried to change Billy. That's Billy, who had been doing the same thing day in, day out, in the same way for 30 years. Or I could try to adapt myself and flip left-handed. And that's what I did.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't easy to start with, but I found something that helped me to make that change. And it was a year before, I had broke my right arm. I was a keen table tennis player. I wanted to continue playing, so I had to learn to play with my left. Something interesting happened. My friends switched to their left hand too. Why? Well, first, curiosity. They wanted to try it to see what it was like. Secondly, they had to adapt because if they wanted the games to be competitive, they had to join in too. And finally, we talked about it, starting with something as simple as a question like, are you going to switch to your left hand too? So, in global L&D, curiosity, discussion, and adaptation help us to reduce uncertainty, build trust, and create longer and stronger lasting relationships. But the question remains, what did flipping potato bread teach me about global L&D? Well, to start with, you won't always get explicit instructions. Also, you need to expect differences. This system probably hasn't been set up with you in mind. And finally, be brave, have a go, try and adapt, because sometimes to step forward, it's better not to complain and just flip. Thank you.